When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
Hey, Holly.
Hey, Dave.
I guess I should say Happy New Year. It's coming. We're in December, and we're looking back, aren't we? This is the time, right? When in December, right? Are you happy it's the end of the year? Are you happy at the end of the year?
I'm happy for a wide variety of reasons. I'm usually pretty happy, but I'm happy now because I always love looking back at all we've done this year because, you forget. You move on to the next one, and you kind of forget. Not about the people that you spoke to, but kind of do, right? How about you? How are you feeling?
Yeah, no, I forget all. I'm feeling fine, thank you. But I remember the names, but I forget the details. So it's nice to look back and go, oh, yes, we talk to people. That's what this podcast was for. We do this because we like to talk to friends. And it's given us a reason to talk to them. And we've made some new friends, haven't we?
We have. And so we've spoken to friends, but we've also spoken to artists and authors and others who have since become friends. And it's been really, really nice. I still love doing this. I know we like to take a temperature check at the end of every year. I'm still pretty happy. How about you?
Okay. Yeah, I'm happy. Yes, it is fun. It is fun. Except when you're in the middle of it, when the Friday's coming on. Oh, Friday. It's like Saturday Night Live. It's suddenly we don't have to release the episode because it's done. We have to release it because it's Friday. And that's, for us, that's just self-imposed. I don't know why we've done that, but we have every week, Friday, new episodes.
I think it's a good rule to live by. I like it. I like the cadence of the podcast.
Well, why don't we look back as we do? Back in the 70s and 80s, they always did like a look back at their past seasons, and then you would see like it would fade out, and then they would fade into the, facts of life type thing. Like, oh, remember when Mrs. Garrett caught us doing this thing, and then it would fade in, and then you would go to that. And then, oh, remember when Fonzarelli tried to hit on this woman and, Pinky, yeah. Remember when Fonzie and Pinky got it on? That was awesome. And then fade into that, fade back. Oh my God. So we're going to be doing a little bit of that.
I love the way you said got it on. And I also like your visual of the special effects.
Sure. Yeah.
Fade in. That might have been the only special effect available back in the 70s.
Yeah, it was. It was always which I'll put in the little harp music, and then,
you
fade in, fade out. Yeah, just more editing work for me. Okay, so what we do every year, and we will have to have a discussion soon because we are counting down songs that were played on KROQ in 1988. Next year, we'll do 1989. And then the year after that, who knows what's going to happen. We'll have to be creative. But for now, we're looking at 1988. We're looking back. And we have, usually we do this in 10-song chunks. And we brought in some guest stars. And we had some wonderful guest stars to look at all these songs. Who did we have?
Oh my God. Each guest was a total superstar in and of themselves. We had a wide variety. We had Sirius XM talent like Lori Majewski.
I was taken to start Teen People magazine, a teen version. And it was there that I said, I grew up with all these superheroes. Like kids now should have this. And Spice Girls, Hanson, Britney Spears, like earlier in the 90s, like 17, they were always putting actresses on the cover. Natalie Portman and putting the girls from 90210, right? I was the one who said, listen, they play a part on TV. Music stars are who the kids like because it's their music that it means everything. So I started putting Brandy on the cover, and Gwen Stefani was my big one. And so then I go to Teen People and Backstreet, NSYNC, all this stuff, all these bands. And I was approaching them as the older sister to myself, writing about them, putting them on the cover and all that. So that was my full circle moment.
And Kat Corbett.
The short story of getting hired at KROQ, I had sent Weatherly my demo, and I didn't really understand the game of like, you have to keep calling. Like, I just didn't understand that. I thought you sent it in, it's magic, we'll hire you.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
right.
I didn't hear anything, and I'm temping, and it's soul crushing, and I'm dying. And I had called a couple times and left a message for Weatherly. And I'm sitting outside of New Line Cinema, which is where I was temping, and I was like, I'm gonna call this guy every day and leave a message. Not just once a week. I'm calling him every day. And I'm so fired up. I'm so annoyed because honestly, at the end of the day, all I wanted was a no. Like, you're not right for this. Go somewhere else. Like, it's the not knowing that kills.
Yeah.
So I called him and talked to his assistants. And I was like, she's like, she knew me by now. She's like, do you want to leave a message? Like, really annoyed. And I said, yes, I'm just wondering if I suck or not. And I'm like, take that down word for word.
Smart.
And there was, like,
Smart.
silence. And there was like silence. I'm like, take it down. And he called me 20 minutes later. He was like, I'm so sorry. I was like, don't be sorry. I just wanted to get your attention. He said, hey, let's get you in here for an audition and see how you sound. He's like, I've been doing weenie roast and stuff. It's been really busy. I heard what happened. That's awful. And, let's get you in here for an audition. So I did.
So it was nice. We talked with our friends like Craig Rosen, my friend, now your friend. And then we talked with one of your friends.
Danielle Clayman-Gelber.
Yes. Your friend, now my friend. So that was nice.
Don't forget Annie Zaleski. She made the Five Timers Club, right?
Yes. Congratulations to Annie Zaleski. She was on a couple times. She also promoted her Cher book.
I worked with an editor a few years ago on a project, and, when she reached out to me and she was like, hey, I'm thinking about working on a book on Cher. Are you a fan? And I think my keyboard caught on fire. I was responded so quickly because I was like, yes, oh my gosh, yes. Because I have been a fan since the 80s. And a couple of years ago, I wrote a piece for Salon basically being like, why does she not get more respect? Why is she not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Because, you look at her career and musically, obviously, it's completely eclectic and diverse. She's had so many ups and downs and kind of interesting nooks and crannies. As a personality, as an actress, she's gotten kudos, but just as a person, she is just going and going and going, and she is always herself. I think that's what I like most about her, is that she just does not care. She is just always herself, just does what she wants, follows her muse, which is really, really admirable. And it's obviously worked for her. She has massive amounts of success just because she is just Cher. She's one word. She's one name. She's like Madonna. She doesn't need another name. She's just Cher.
Cher is going to be on Saturday Night Live. She's going to be singing some songs. So I'm sure Annie is thrilled about that, as are we. We had some good people on there. We've had Matt Pinfield on before. And this year we got Dave Kendall to talk about KROQ. That was pretty awesome.
As a writer, writing a new show, which didn't even have a name, it was going to be 2 hours long and it was going to play light rotation videos, not the big hits. And I was the writer on the show, meaning I was going to write what the VJs said between the videos. And if there was any graphics and any news, I would write the script for the VJs. You had Alan Hunter as a guest, and he was one of the first VJs. He was really the first host of 120 Minutes. It was passed around between the different VJs. Yeah. Martha did it. JJ Jackson did it. I think Mark Goodman did it once. But I was, strictly behind the scenes. I was writing. And then as the show got a little more budget, we started to be able to do stories, music news, graphics, and then some interviews. So I started producing it as well as writing it. And then in '89, I essentially just wrote myself into the script as the host.
Dave Kendall is the creator of 120 Minutes.
Yes, indeed. That's what we learned. That's what I forgot that we learned. So thank you, Holly. Just a little detail. We end up our 10 to 1 with just someone who gives us all the feels. And who was that this year?
Oh, Moon Unit Zappa. Moon is totally awesome. She's so interesting. She's always got something interesting to say. She's super interactive.
This should not be number 10.
Oh, you're already, this is a top 10 of the year, and you're already upset.
Well, I'm glad it's in the top 10. Yeah, Michael Hutchence, In Excess, that was one of my all-time favorite bands. I think they hold up today. I was just going through all my CDs yesterday and editing like crazy, and those still made the cut. So,
did you meet Michael Hutchence? Did you like?
Of course I did.
Well, okay, I don't know. That's why I asked the questions.
Yeah, I don't remember how I met him. It might have been an MTV thing, but yeah, there's a couple of bands and whatever that was like, come hell or high water, I'm meeting these people. Same as any normal whatever teen, late teen, young human, where you're just like, I feel like it's not enough to just like wear the music. I have to like shake the hand of the poet. Oh, the thing about Michael Hutchence that was so inspirational to me also was that he had such terrible acne and it left scars on his face. And I was like, wait, you could be sexy and have acne scars? Are you kidding me right now? So that was pretty cool because I had terrible skin. So that was extra interesting to me.
I love talking. We could talk to Moon for hours. I think we did.
Always a treat. Each one of those was just wonderful to reconnect, and just share the love of KROQ music with them. So I think we had some great insights and fun times with them.
Do you think our listeners are all clear on what KROQ was now after 8 years?
I don't know. If you're new to KROQ, it is the world-famous KROQ, which was in Los Angeles, and it still is in Los Angeles, and it's still on the air, but we loved it back in the 80s when it was called Rock of the 80s. And they played a lot of unique music. So we are always intrigued by what they played back in the day. And that's why we do this. So that led us to where we are today. It's just counting them down.
All right, Casey. They were the, I guess, flagship alternative rock station, alternative music station. And it was where we got all our new wave and all the alternative stuff back in the day.
Yeah, alternative stuff that soon became hits. So as we learned, it was probably the first place that we heard U2 and NXS and REM, bands like that. So we were always hip and cool because we heard it first on the dial 106.7, and then it went to the top 40 stations.
If the bands were lucky.
This was the time they played Tone Loc in 1988 for the first time. We were introduced to, I think it was Edie Brickell and New Bohemians, not the New Bohemians, right?
Well, if you're asking Dave Sloan, I would guess he would say the New Bohemians or the Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians.
Right. But if there is no then it's right. That's kind of fun to have that. We heard Jane's Addiction, Living Color. It was a good time to hear new music. Camper Van Beethoven. Sugar Cubes was another band that we just learned about. So we heard a young Bjork for the first time on KROQ. So KROQ is a very on top of it station back in the day. Of the KROQ countdown, we always want people to have an opinion, even if they're totally wrong with their opinion, right?
Right. We like it when they're wrong because then we can express to them how wrong they are.
Yeah. We let them say their thing. We had a total of 34 episodes this season. So that's pretty cool. Out of the 52 weeks, 34 episodes. But 34 episodes, I think, is pretty strong. I'm very happy with that.
Me too. That's great. And hopefully anyone who's listening has heard all of those. And if they haven't, they can go back on social media and they can go to our website to find all the past episodes. They can go to any podcast platform and you can find any episode you missed. If we happen to mention a name of someone that you have missed, you will find it on your favorite podcast platform.
Besides talking to radio people, MTV people, Sirius XM people, we talked to rock stars. Hey, how about that? That's exciting. We start off the new year with the Stereo MCs, Rob B and Nick Hallam. That was cool because they were about to embark on a new tour. So we hadn't heard from them for a while.
We just kind of put low-key tunes out. So we weren't really trying to like make some big splash. Because in a way, we're not really a big splash kind of band. You know what I mean? Yeah. We just started making some records we liked, and almost accidentally, they kind of started doing well.
That was a great way to kick off the year by way of artists.
Yes. So who else? Any other favorites that jump out at you?
Well, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to quiz you.
You-
Who do you think is one of my favorite artists from this list? And by the way, I enjoyed everybody that we have
There's
interviewed,
always
just for the record. But I'm gonna ask you to look at this list. Who would be the first one to jump out at me?
Oh, well, as I look at this list, it would be Gary Kemp, of course, of the Rock on Tours. He's a podcaster, and he was also in a band called Spandau Ballet. Yeah, so Gary Kemp was promoting a new record. And what was that album?
Called This Destination.
But I think this album came directly out of a different state of mind that I was in. I was feeling a real heightened sense of anxiety. About 2 years ago, I never experienced the sensation of panic attacks before, and I was going through that. And I think I was worried about mortality. I think I was worried about growing older. We're all living in this sort of terrible news cycle that we're constantly feeding ourselves with 24/7. Whatever it was. And also, I don't think I fully mourned the loss of my parents, drove me into my writing room and made me start trying to answer questions, trying to put some of that down into lyric and music. And that's my therapy, really. And that was my initial approach into this album.
Even though he wasn't the lead singer of Spandau Ballet, I loved his voice. I loved when he sings with Nick Mason with Saucer Full of Secrets. I enjoy Gary Kemp's voice, and I love his personality. This was his third time on the podcast, and he is always a delight.
Yeah, Gary Kemp's like the Noel Gallagher, right? He's the songwriter and the backup singer, but he's got a very good voice and he's a winning personality, and so fun, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
always your favorite. All right. So okay, now I'll turn it to you. Who was the one that stuck out for me that I enjoyed? That was a big thrill for me.
I think there were quite a few, but I'm gonna go with the next one that jumps out at me. I don't think it was the same for you, but let's go with Suzanne Vega.
Yes, very good. What were you auditioning for?
Mostly what was called, I think it's still called The Bitter End.
Yeah. Okay.
For 2 years, I think. I would go down there and audition and get turned down by the same guy. And then I would try the next week again. And it didn't occur to me to go somewhere else because I thought, this is how you get started. I'm just going to go to Folk City and see what they think. And I went to Folk City and everybody was like, yes, hi. I was like, I found my people. But before that, I had 2 years at trying to get into The Bitter End.
I've been a fan of Suzanne's for 40 years now. I'm going to go to her show in February, and I'm looking forward to seeing her. She has a new album, Flying with Angels, really, really great. And just to share some memories with Suzanne was a pure delight for me.
She was very receptive, and you asked her great questions because of your in-depth knowledge. She was delightful, and you carried it for us.
I like to nerd out. That's always fun.
Yeah.
I got to nerd out with Scott McCoy, Young Fresh Fellows, -5, Baseball Project. Also, just a super talented and engaging guest, and we were thrilled to talk with Scott.
I had Linda be the drummer on the record and have Debbie Peterson sing on all the songs because I just want more women's presence in my music, because I always love women's music. Most of my bands are just a bunch of dudes, because they all go back to the people I grew up with, my gang of friends, we were dorks in high school, so we didn't have very many women friends. But I've always been a fan of women, female singing and female perspective, female songwriting and all this. And so I'm trying to lean that way. And I really wanted that to be part of this record. I wanted, Linda played drums on the whole record, except for 2 songs, but Spencer Tweedy plays on. I really wanted Debbie to sing on the whole record, just so there would be that presence of female vibe. And I think it's really cool.
Yeah, he's always on the road doing stuff. He just never stops.
Yeah. Someone else who's always on the road, Jason Narducci. He toured this year with Michael Shannon, and they did REM's Fables of the Reconstruction in full.
So I said to Michael, I was like, would you ever want to tour? And he's like, well, I think so, but we got to keep it short. His schedule is pretty insane. So we booked a 9-day tour the show sold out. It did great. And when that ended, I was like, "You want to do it again?" you know.
I'm having
So that's how
I'm having
this.
too much fun. We can't end this.
Well, that's the thing is like I don't really do this. Like I play with Bob Mould. I play with Superchunk. I play with Sunny Day Real Estate. I have a bunch of projects. I write musicals. I just reunited my band when I was 11, Verboten. We just played at Riot Fest and did some shows with Frank Black. And I love writing music and playing original music. So I don't seek this out, but we didn't plan this. It just sort of happened. And it's just so damn fun.
He's back on the road with Michael Shannon, so he's always doing something. He's just a nice guy, really.
Down to earth and a music lover. Yeah.
He's one of us. Except he's an extraordinary guitar player.
And he's hanging out with big time celebrities. But he's just nice and down to earth.
Yeah, good solid Illinois stock. You're enjoying the What Difference Does It Make podcast, but we're going to take a break right now, and we'll be right back. What other rock stars stuck out for you?
Spider Stacy of the Pogues.
Okay, very good. Were you able to understand what he was saying?
But you've really got to check out Lisa O'Neill. And she said, "It has been true transportation to sing and travel with the Pogues and to breathe new life, rage and love into their music. Beautiful, wild people, these extraordinary musicians, in its marriage of memory and moment, I conclude the Pogues' music is modern medicine, evident in the life that is ignited in the audience as these songs are recalled within us all. I've never been in front of an audience like a Pogues audience. They're a force of nature, pulsating as one. This dirty old dance is far from done."
I totally understood. I love his accent. He's another one, the Pogues are they are kind of in a class by themselves, kind of like the Sex Pistols. I kind of felt the same way when we talked to Glenn Matlock. He was totally delightful. Also pretty down to earth, really easy to talk to, and led such an interesting life. Who's next for you?
I actually enjoy bringing people into our studio. And so even though he's not a rock star, Eric Vitro was super cool to talk to because he teaches the world to sing. He'd like to teach the world to sing, and he is teaching the world to sing. Who do you work with? The music composers or just the artists? When you have the arrangements, it's up to you.
Every movie is different. Some movies I will work with the director. Like, for example, on the movies I worked with that came out last year, Maria with Angelina Jolie, I talked quite a bit to the director on that movie. And then A Complete Unknown, with Timothée Chalamet and Monica Barbaro, I spoke a lot with the director and the music supervisor, Steve Gazicki, the music producer, who's really just a brilliant producer. He's amazing. I worked a lot with them. Then other times, it'll be more just with the artist, or I'll have one meeting, let's say, with the director or with the music supervisor. But then it's really just me one-on-one with the people. So on Wicked, it was really just myself and Ariana for the most part. She's talked about this on interviews, so I'm not saying anything really new here, but we worked for months on just getting her ready for the audition. She is so diligent, so hardworking. She basically took lessons 5 days a week for several months leading up to the audition, just for the audition.
Yeah.
She wanted to earn the part. She did not want to get it because she was a famous pop star. She wanted to earn it and be completely right for it, and wanted everybody in that company to want her because she was great. And she was, and her audition was spectacular. And so then we worked again for months getting ready for her to go. So there was not very much interaction with me and the music, with Stephen Aremus again, who was the music producer, or Greg Wells, the music producer. It was just us. However, then with Jonathan Bailey, there was more interaction with me and some of the other people working on the film. Now, I know Stephen Schwartz. I've known him for years. He's been a friend of mine, but we never really talked about it. I knew what he wanted, and Stephen would tell me, oh, this is what Stephen's really looking for from Jonathan. But Jonathan and I, all our sessions were private, and all my sessions with Ariana were private. The majority of the time is with the actor one-on-one right in front of me, usually at my house, or sometimes in the case of Jonathan Bailey for Wicked, all on FaceTime, because he was going from Toronto. One day we were, doing a lesson on FaceTime, and I knew the apartment he was living in. It. The next day, I'm like, where are you? You're in a completely different place. He said, oh, I'm in London. I'm shooting Bridgerton today. I said, but yesterday you were in Toronto. And he says, yeah, I flew overnight. I'm doing that today. And then tomorrow I'll be working on Wicked. So everything was on FaceTime. FaceTime, to me, it started with Skype. That changed my life.
Yeah.
It opened up an incredible world. So when the pandemic came around, this was nothing new to me. I had been doing it for years on Skype. The first person, believe it or not, was Bette Midler when she was doing her Vegas residency. I was flying up and down. Like sometimes, I think the first year, 90 times or 93 times. And I said to her the second year, do you want to try this thing called Skype? And she was like, I've never heard of anything so stupid. And I said, well, let's just try it. And then she loved it.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, I was off and running with that. And then from then on, people on tours, I no longer had to go on tour or whatever. I could just do it from my house.
I really enjoyed having him. It was really cool that he came into our studio, like into our little space here, and just really down to earth, great guy. And yeah, he's taught Ariana Grande to sing. Like, that's insane.
His resume is incredible. He's worked with everybody.
So he taught Timothy Chalamet and Jeremy Allen White to sing like Bruce Springsteen. I mean, that's why we brought him in. But then you kind of learn like, oh my God, he's worked with so many artists, like rock stars, teaching rock stars how to sing.
He's worked with Ariana Grande since she was a lot younger, before she became who she is now.
Yeah. Besides Ariana Grande, Katy Perry, John Legend, Pink, Austin Butler. He's taught Rosalia to sing. I mean, I don't know if he's still working with her. You know, he takes selfies with all the people he works with on his website, which is actually highly entertaining. EricVitro.com. Rosalia is one of my top albums of this year. And Eric Vitro has worked with her.
He's a fun personality. I'm glad he was able to come in live also, because he's a local boy, local to Los Angeles.
Although he was from, what was it, Gloverton or
Gloversville, New York.
Gloversville.
Where you couldn't guess what their main export was.
Well, that was just, yes, that was me just being an idiot trying to, like, all right. It was called Gloversville. Okay, well, was it?
I know.
Yeah,
it was the Playtex factory, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought it was. And so, yeah, we did talk to a lot of artists, and I just enjoyed each and every one of them.
I have to mention one more. Have to. Vicki Peterson and John Cowsill.
Okay. The married duo.
So a Bengal and a Cowsill. That was such a highlight. If you follow them on social media, you can see how cute and sweet they are together.
Talk to us about the video.
They look like home movies.
Especially 1,000 Times. That was very home movies-ish. And then we did one for Come to Me, and we happened to be in London, in East London. Mm-hmm. So we made that one there. We had a day, like literally one day off.
And then we got more artsy-fartsy with the Is Anybody Here, which is still at our house. But, we said, well, let's try this. Vicki likes to call it the Peter Still Low Light Productions.
That's the name of our production company. People keep saying, it almost looks like 70 Betamax or something. Yeah, that was...
Yeah, because it was 3 in the morning. We didn't have enough light.
Whatever.
Super high-tech equipment to make it look like that.
Absolutely. It took time to make it look that
We
bad.
meant to do that.
The vibe. It's just so nice. And
it's us.
Yeah.
Just us goofing around, and that's how we are.
I thoroughly enjoyed talking to them. They're local, so they were not in the studio with us, but some local chat. And so just sweet. And their music is also a worth listen.
Yeah, Vicki Peterson, also a Valley girl, grew up close to you. I think we spent like 15 minutes talking about Northridge.
So on my Northridge peeps, you can listen to that episode.
I did get to do a couple episodes without you. So, you do what you got to do.
I'm crying. Can you hear my tears?
Yeah. Sometimes you just, can't make it. And you can't keep these people waiting. So I got to talk to Jimbo Mathis of the Squirrel Nut Zippers. Very cool.
But when I went to North Carolina, saw Chapel Hill and that area and saw, oh God, tons of bands, people doing what I want to be doing. And I almost immediately quit the barges and moved to Chapel Hill. I think I did one more trip and I was gone. And that's where I started the Squirrel Nut Zippers, and that whole trajectory got going. But you got to understand, Mississippi was very It was hard to find books. It was hard to find albums. It was hard to find anybody that was doing anything I wanted to do. So I knew I had to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, Chapel Hill, vibrant music scene, and
Raleigh too. And I stumbled into it. I mean, I just hit it at the right time. It immediately attracted me, and I've always made just decisions like that. When I feel it in my gut, I jump in, and that was a big decision right there. I knew not a soul up there.
Yeah.
And within a couple of years, I had put the Squirrel Nut Zippers together using these concepts of social music and ringleading, and bringing people together over music. And we had a record deal, I mean, it happened pretty fast.
He wanted to talk 80s. I wanted to talk 1930s music. He's a fascinating character. Just had a wonderful story. And yeah, they're still touring around. They're playing LA soon. So even though it feels like a nostalgic act, they're really bring a live vibrancy to their show. It's just a good time to dance around and act like an idiot. So, and the other one I did by myself, I went on a cruise by myself. I went on the 80s cruise, and I talked to the Stuck in the 80s boys. So I talked to Steve Spears and Brad Williams from the Stuck in the 80s podcast, and they were delightful.
Every time you put a glove on for the first time, it never feels entirely just right. But I mean, nobody does a good job the first. Yeah.
I will say, and we were just talking about this yesterday, and it took me a while to realize this. When I joined the show, I'm like, this is about the 80s. It's not about me. But if people just want to learn about the 80s, they can go to Wikipedia. So there has to be some of you in it, or else there's no real reason to come back. It took me a while to figure that out.
That is the secret sauce to Stuck in the 80s. It's not ketchup and mayonnaise. It's not Thousand Island dressing. You got to share your own story and the things that happened to you in the 80s, and be the good things, the bad things, the hilariously humiliating things. And I think that has been what is the glue of the podcast for 20 years.
They do a lot of the trivia contests on the cruise. There was like a 5K run on top of the deck. Brad does that. Brad is also a big Devo fan. And apparently I look like him because Lori Majewski thought that I was him, and she waved to me, and I was like, I didn't even register with me. Why is this woman waving at me? I didn't realize till later that was probably Lori Majewski.
You blew off Lori Majewski?
I don't know if I did. Well, actually later this year, she conducted an interview with Annie Lennox. Annie Lennox has a great coffee table book out right now, and she did an interview in Los Angeles. She flew out to LA. And she had her whirlwind tour of talking to Annie Lennox and then going to the Rock Hall. So that was cool for her. I didn't get to go to the Rock Hall, but congratulations to all those that are in the Rock Hall now, all our 80s friends.
Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper's in there. That's right. Very nice. Yeah, so those were two shows. I went on a cruise by myself because Holly couldn't make it. I talked to Squirrel Nut Zippers because Holly couldn't make it. I saw Scott McCoy live because Holly couldn't make it. I did a number of things because Holly couldn't make it. She's a very busy lady.
I can't believe how much I missed this year, or how much you've done, I should say.
One thing you did go to, we saw the John and Yoko documentary 1-to-1, and we got to talk to the co-director, co-editor, Sam Rice Edwards, and we got to see John and Yoko 1-to-1 in IMAX. That was pretty cool.
A lot of the archive came out of the Lennon archive, and those conversations that you're talking about, particularly, that was quite a big moment when we received those conversations, because someone called Simon Hilton, who is part of the Lennon estate, who helped us a lot, he came over to New York, and he was going through the archive, and he sort of walked past a shelf, sort of dusty shelves that no one had looked at for 50 years, or well, it wouldn't be 50 years in the archive, but the tapes are 50 years old and no one had listened to them. And he saw this box and opened it up, and there were these tapes inside it, and he was like, I wonder what these are. And it came to light that they were these amazing recordings from the Bank Street apartment, from their phone. So once he sent them across to Kevin and myself, and we immediately knew that there was something very special, because you never hear John and Yoko like that, really talking completely away from public view, as they were as people amongst themselves.
This documentary that kind of told the story about the early 70s. They were living in Greenwich Village, and they got attached to this Willowbrook charity. It wasn't necessarily all concert footage. It was a lot of different elements that Sam Rice Edwards added into this documentary, and it made a fascinating look at part of John Lennon that we really weren't aware of, or at least I wasn't.
No, I wasn't either, and I don't think a lot of people were. So the Willowbrook Institution was on Staten Island. Is a special needs school/institution, and it ended in a benefit concert at Madison Square Garden. Or there was some footage from that as well in the film, which was really cool to see.
It was cool to see it in IMAX. Amazing. I need to see more movies in IMAX because that's just, it's kind of an insane format.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I always choose IMAX when I can. When it's.
I know it's tough to pay so much money for a movie, but yeah, I know bigger is better. Now that you go to the shows at the Sphere, and you just want to see. The screen needs to just be insane. Yeah, that's the new thing in 2025. I need a bigger screen. This is too small. It's just not sufficient. But you know what's also cool besides films? Books. You like books? You ever look at books? You ever look at a book? You ever read the book? We got to do that. We do that. We're forced to do that. We have to interview these authors. Who did we talk to this year?
Okay, you say forced, but I enjoy reading the books, and I read them cover to cover. And the most recent one we did was we chatted with Paul Myers about his most recent book is the John Candy book. That's what we talked about, A Life in Comedy.
I wrote a book about the Canadian sketch comedy troupe, The Kids in the Hall, who are more of a cult thing, but they're well known if you like comedy, you tend to know The Kids in the Hall. And they were in many ways as innovative as Python and, again, proud homeboys of Toronto, Canada.
Yeah.
And so I wrote that book, and it did fairly well with what we call a niche audience, I guess. But it did fairly well. Like it sold through, as they say, which is good, which means it earned out its advance, which is more than some of the books I've written. So what happened was the publisher of that was House of Anansi Press in Toronto. And they said, what do you want to do next? And I thought, well, I'm still in a sketch comedy mood. And I'd been talking in the book before about Kids in the Hall the way was paved for the Kids in the Hall because of Second City Television, which was a sketch show from Toronto. So they had that as a role model of you can get there from here. You can make a Canadian sketch comedy show. So the Kids in the Hall did that. So I thought, well, why don't I go back and do the book about the sketch Second City Television? Why don't I do that? And at that very moment, this is 3.5, maybe 4 years ago, Martin Scorsese was making, at the time, what we thought was an imminent documentary about Second City Television. They'd done a live interview with Jimmy Kimmel on stage in Toronto somewhere, and it was in the can. And I thought, okay, it's going to come out any day. So let's not do an SCTV book because all the energy will be gone. Well, that film has yet to be released. But in the meantime, when I'm having this conversation with the publisher, I said, I don't think we should do SCTV then. And he said, well, why don't you just do John Candy? So my editor said that. He said, why don't you just do John Candy? Because then you could talk about all the great movies. And also people all over the world know the movies. They might not know Second City Television. So thinking a little bit like a businessman, I think he realized that the exportability of a book about John Candy was greater than perhaps just about SCTV. Anyhow, whatever it was, I went, my God, that's awesome. Can I do that? And they said, yeah, I'm telling you, I'm asking you to do it. And I said, okay, let's do it.
Love John Candy. I know you are a huge fan of SCTV and sketch comedy, and I grew up with it also. Paul is always a great interview. We've spoken with him before, and we talked about Record Store Day also, which is another passion of yours.
Yeah, Paul is a music fan and passionate, and also a comedy fan and Canadian. So we love all those things, and we like to talk about all of those. He's more than happy to discuss things with us that we throw at him, whether it's Tim Hortons or back bacon, he'll talk about it. Maple syrup, that's fine. He's into it. He bounces with it. And then we had a guy come into the studio. If you come into the studio, of course, we're going to mention you. Paul Rappaport, Gliders Over Hollywood. I have to make sure because I think of Stephen Colbert, who does not pronounce the T, but this Paul Rappaport character wants to mention all the letters because each and every letter is important. Gliders Over Hollywood, radio promotion guy for Columbia Records. We brought in Eric Vitro because he taught Jeremy Allen White how to sing like Springsteen. Paul Rappaport worked actually with Springsteen.
The Guard
at KMET in the parking lot did not think he was Bruce Springsteen, because Bruce at that time didn't like limousines. He would drive himself everywhere, and Bruce, he's broke. He's just wearing jeans and a flannel shirt. That's all he's got, right? And so I pull up, and he's fuming, right? He's like pacing. And I'm like, hey, boss, what's the deal? He goes, that guard wouldn't let me in. And the guard was a friend of mine, and I can't remember his name. He was a wonderful guy. And I said, what's the problem? He goes, this guy says he's Bruce Springsteen. I said, he is Bruce Springsteen. The guard was, oh my God. He said, Paul, I'm so sorry. He said, every artist that comes to KMET pulls up in a limousine. Yeah. I said, nah, Bruce isn't about that. All right. So Bruce is fuming. In his rent-a-car, he's got a rent-a-car. Get in. I get in the car. Okay. That parking lot at KMET was one of those stacked lots, right? I get in. He floors the car. And he's squealing, like he's got road rage, right? I'm hanging on for dear life. I'm hanging on. I'm thinking, man, I got 50-50 chance here. Bruce is going to fly off the edge, of this parking lot, and we're going to die. And the only silver lining that I can think of is, well, at least if I die, I go out with Bruce Springsteen. And I'm looking at him, and he's just flooring. And we're on two wheels. This thing's like squealing around. So we finally got in. I had a bottle of champagne with me, and lucky for me, and I was like, hey, Bruce, maybe you should drink this before you talk to Mary. I don't want you freaking out, So he's a little bit loose in that interview because he's a little bit tipsy from drinking champagne.
And then you had another friend who wrote a book. He's not a nice guy, right? Well, you would call him what? What would you call him?
Well, he would call himself an asshole. I wouldn't necessarily call him an asshole, but that is the title of his book because he did believe that people thought he was an asshole. I worked with Rob at Westwood One for years, and he worked with every artist. He was in charge of bringing artists he was artist relations, so he would bring them to Westwood One. He would negotiate the deals for concert, for big live events, and he would fly all over the world negotiating deals to bring these artists to Westwood One. And I guess he wasn't so nice to the people that he met.
First of all, I had to face this with some degree of bravery because some of these things that transpired are not comfortable to talk about. And I've had people already read this book that say, wow, that's really triggering. It triggered them. And I didn't know if they meant it's triggering them in a good way or not a good way. But whatever it is, they're feeling something. And I think that there will be a lot of emotions. I felt a lot of different emotions, whether it was joy or whether it was excitement or whether it was pain or fear or shame. A lot of different feelings came up for me as I was writing it. And I put a quote at the beginning of the book. Does the pain come from the writing or does the writing come from the pain? And it's a good question. And I think it's a dual answer. But there's a huge catharsis to releasing it onto paper. And that was very helpful for me just overall. And that's actually how the book was born. I didn't plan to write a book. I just started writing stories and then I started stringing them, like as I mentioned, and it just morphed. And here we are.
Did you find him to be an asshole?
No, well, he came into the studio, which was always cool. I love it when people come into the studio, and he was a proper gentleman. I believe I got a hearty handshake and possibly a hug after we left. So yeah, decent guy. But his book, entitled Asshole, tells his whole life story, and he kind of lays it all out on the line and lets us know what his life was like and why he is what he is and why he named this book what he named this book.
He went through a lot as a child, and there was a lot of trauma in his upbringing. So that played into his whole story, and it ended with redemption. So it was a delight to have him in the studio, a pleasure to have him in the studio with us, another local boy.
Yeah, we hit a lot on 34 episodes. Follow us on social media because we have contests. Initially we got air supply tickets, and well, maybe we should get Russell Hitchcock into our studio. Maybe he'll talk to us, or not into our virtual studio. And even though he does live in LA, when we talked to him, he was in LA, but we did get to talk to Russell Hitchcock about air supply, and it was enlightening.
So Graham went to South Australia. I had to go and live with my sister because I couldn't afford to live anywhere. And he called me up about 2 or 3 weeks later, and he said, I've written some songs. Why don't you come out and see what you think? And Lost in Love was the first song he played me. I've called a couple of hit songs when I first heard them. I said, this is a hit. So a friend of somebody I knew at a radio station, she knew the guy that owned this record label. So we took the song to him. He loved it, and he signed us to that label in Australia. And it was 2 years before it got to Clive Davis. So it was a bit of a struggle still, but hey, once again, I guess somebody once said it's better to be lucky than be good. This was one of those times when we got lucky, but we were good at the same time. So
it was enlightening. I think he is not what people expect when you speak with him, because he's got his tattoo, his arms are all tatted up, but he's very humble and very appreciative of all the success Air Supply has had over the years. And they tour, he's in his 70s, he and Graham Russell, and they are touring nonstop. I think they tour, 2/3 of the year?
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, they're celebrating their 50-year anniversary. We post things on social media, and there was a guy, someone saw Russell Hitchcock. He wrote a comment saying, the Air Supply guy has tattoos? Doesn't seem to match up, but for Russell, it does. We didn't talk to him about tattoos. We talked to him mostly about Dodger baseball. He is a Dodger fan now. 2026 will be a very important year for Air Supply as they get their Hollywood Walk of Fame. And there's going to be a movie that starts production next year. And you're going to learn a lot about Air Supply, I think, in the coming year. And so even though he said on our podcast he doesn't think he'll make the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I wouldn't necessarily put that out of the equation, but we'll see. Time will tell. People hate having rock and roll in that title, and why is Whitney Houston in there? Well, she deserves it. So I believe Air Supply does as well.
They definitely do. Their impact on music since the 70s has been huge for a variety of reasons, and they are absolutely worthy of Rock Hall status.
All right. Follow us on social media. Why don't you? And you can find out about different contests, and you can also find out about past episodes on our newsletter, where you can sign up on wddimpodcast.com, which stands for What Difference Does It Make Podcast.com. Anywhere else, Holly?
On every social media platform at WDDIM Podcast, and on YouTube, where you'll find clips from pretty much all our interviews. What Difference Does It Make podcast. So please like us, follow us, subscribe to the newsletter. We will only bother you once a month. We love to hear from you. We love your comments, your suggestions. Give it to us.
All right. So that was 2025. How would you sum up 2025, Holly?
We had some laugh out loud funny moments, and it was broadly entertaining. I hope it was for our listeners. Would you say it will be vintage?
Yeah, that's right. Put it in the archives. I'm always thrilled that we get through a year and we fill it up with interesting artists and friends and authors, rock stars. We get to talk to a wide variety of people. I do know that this year was a fascinating year, that we got to talk to and learn a lot about music that we thought we knew, but we learned a lot more. One day we'll put it all together in a book when we retire from this thing.
That's the dream. And
That's the dream.
I think we started this podcast in 2018 and we're closing out 2025. And I dare say each year has been better than the last. It's been a dream for me.
Good to hear. I like that. It has been crazy to get to put this all together. Thank you to everybody who has tolerated us when we try and do this unique video service thing. We make them jump through some hoops, and they usually come through.
Yes, and thank you to Pantheon Podcast for their love and support. And thank you to all the publicists we work with, a lot of great publicists, and to the artists and everyone who's been a guest. Thank you. We are so grateful.
Yep, look forward to more in 2026. So I guess we should sign off, right, for this year?
Already?
We got all our holiday shows that we love to play again and again. So thank you for listening. Thank you to our listeners for listening to us once in a while. Hopefully you've caught the number of episodes. This is a good starter episode. If this is your first time, welcome to kind of a variety show of what we provide. Please follow us, subscribe, and, stick around for the ride. It's going to be a fun ride next year.
Thank you to our listeners, for new and old, for sticking it out with us. We are very grateful to you.
All right. So then we'll wrap it up as we do, as I have on my shirt Until next time, until next year, this is Dave.
This is Holly.
Check you later.
Over and out.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday, because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.